Hello, Phoenix, and welcome to the July issue of Phoenix Magazine. I'm editor Craig Outhier. This is our video blog, video podcast, bookend piece to the physical issue. So it's an exciting issue for us. It's our Great 48 issue. It's our yearly compendium of Valley people that we find inspiring, effectual, interesting, what have you. An amazing issue to put together. It really was. We also have we have one of the great 48ers joining us, but we also have our in-house history maven, Doug Towne, to talk about a feature he wrote on the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918, which for obvious reasons has a certain amount of currency for today's reader, and he had some great insights about that. So with no further ado, let's meet some of the great 48ers and talk about the flu.
Okay, I'm here with one of our great 48 Phoenicians in this month's issue. That is bluesman extraordinaire, Carvin Jones. Hey, Carvin, thanks for joining us.
All right, Craig. All right, man. Yes, it's good to be here.
It's great to have you. I understand this is your first Zoom experience.
Yes, it is. I mean, yes, it is.
I'm proud of that.
I can't believe it, but hey, it's been forever, so
I'm proud that I'm giving Carvin Jones his first Zoom experience. It's great. So, Carvin, you're great. You're an amazing musician, and tons of our readers, I'm sure, have seen you around the Valley. I mean, your thunderous work on the guitar, your stage presence, you're great. And of course, you're one of our great 48s. But the other reason we had you in the magazine, and obviously your musical CV alone was enough to get you there, was your kind of other life during the coronavirus pandemic. You've been going around delivering meals to elderly Phoenicians who might otherwise have access to them. Really, how many a day have you been doing the last couple months, 3 months?
Now it's more and more. Now because I have helpers now, and so now it could be anywhere 5-6 times a week. We try to do 6 days a week, 6 complexes and stuff like that, yes. And so,
dozens of people a day.
Yeah, yes. It's a lot because, pardon me?
You scaled up since the beginning.
Well, yes. I mean, because, man, we've gotten more notoriety. So, people have been asking for more, deliveries. And people have been donating more, and I've been spending more of my money. But hey, it is what it is, and I'm just happy to do it. And people are very, very happy about it, and it's a very good situation because I personally didn't realize that the elderly people only get like $600 or $700 a month. So by the time that they pay their rent,
fixed income, right?
Fixed income, it's like nothing left for food. I did not know that, but so now I know it, and we're out there, and we're pounding it out there.
You started out doing 3, 4, 5 people a day, deliveries a day. This all started because you heard or saw a story on TV about elderly.
A buddy of mine, actually, in London, England,
right?
About how a buddy of mine. That some people were doing what they call grocery runs for the elderly. For example, if it was a next door neighbor or something like that, somebody that the elderly person trusts, they would give them the money, and and the people wouldn't come back with the groceries. Unbelievable.
Right.
And so I was raised by my grandmother, who bought me my first guitar.
Right.
Rest in heaven, Mom. So
and her sister, right? Your great aunt as well.
Yes. Great aunt who was blind from the age of 12, and I never heard the woman complain in her life. And that's why to this day, I'm not a big fan of people that complain. I was like, hey, man,
Right.
So,
let me tell you about my great aunt. Yeah. You were raised by 2, elderly women, got your guitar. You love old people, you told me.
Absolutely, man. Do not mess with the old people. Or else, man, Carvin will be very ticked off.
Right. And you found a great way to help them. So, good on you, sir.
Yes, man, And we are very happy because a lot of people valley-wide are now talking about it because they didn't know it either. So now they check on their elderlies, you know, in their neighborhoods and stuff like that. So, you know, the word is moving around and stuff like that. And, you know, we just want to continue to create awareness, and, you know, and I continue to learn every day also by meeting these great people.
Do you want to turn this into like a permanent organization?
Well, hey, man, you know, until we can find enough help, well,
right.
Yes, I'm just going to keep doing it, you know.
Right, but you go on tour. You told me you toured like 200 days a year. I mean, eventually
yeah.
So you know, find somebody to help you.
Well, yes. So like I said, but, you know, we have some helpers now and stuff. So, but, you know, even when I go on tour, I plan to continue this because this is, and also this is something that makes me happy. When I see those elderly people crying tears of joy because they knowing that they're going to eat well for the next couple of weeks, you know, hey, that's a good feeling.
Right.
Yeah. So, you know, I go to bed happy every night of my life because of these elderly people.
I'm glad you found another audience that's just as, you know, grateful, even more grateful. And
well, yes, they are definitely and stuff, you know, and that's where I got the sequin mask because, you know, when I first started this, I was going out, you know, without a mask. It's like
right.
March the 16th, 17th, something like that. And so, you know, I got to this elderly lady's house, and she was like, you know, she had just found out who I was. She saw me on the internet. She's like, so, you know, when I came now, she's like, Carvin Jones, where's your mask at?
You didn't bring it, did you?
Yeah, she's like Carvin Jones, I expected you to come here with a fancy sequin mask. You know, I see your tours all over the world. You know, you playing in front of thousands of people with the beautiful sequin shirts. I expected you to come here with a sequin mask. And I'm like, ma'am, you know, I'm sorry. But she's like, next time I want to see you with a mask because, you know, we need good people like you, you know, to be around. So I'm like, yes, ma'am, I apologize. So that's where the sequin mask came.
I'd like to see that mask. Maybe next time we visit with you, you can wear it.
Absolutely.
Carvin, thank you so much for joining us and for appearing in our August issue as a Great 48.
Oh, man, I'm honored to be there. I've never been in the Phoenix magazine before. I'm very humbled and very appreciative of the honor. Thank you, guys.
Okay, I'm here with Phoenix Magazine freelance writer Douglas Towne. Now, Douglas has a very specialized place at the magazine. He basically writes 90% of our history stories. We do one every month. This month, actually, he wrote a history feature. It was just our pretty word for a long story. And certainly the topic warranted a little extra inkage in the magazine. It was a history piece about the Spanish flu of 1918. Hey, Doug, how you doing?
Very good, Craig.
Now, you know, if it wasn't for the coronavirus pandemic, it's very highly likely that we would not have run this 3,000-word story about the Spanish flu of 1918. Great story, but obviously one with a lot of resonance for, you know, contemporary people living in the greater Phoenix area. What were the similarities between the pandemic of 1918 and the one we're having now?
Well, Craig, at times I doubted I was doing a history piece. I thought it was a current event.
Yeah.
There were so many similarities. You had the business shutdowns, the social distancing, the stressed medical facilities, quack remedies, people arguing whether they should wear a mask or not. And then
that one struck me too. I was like, wow, that's on the nose.
Mm-hmm. And then you had people just flooding these theaters and restaurants as soon as they gave them the thumbs up, sort of like what happened last month.
Right. So people in the Valley in the early 20th century were social creatures just like us, and they wanted to get back to normal. And it did become a fraught political issue. Was it kind of down the same lines? Was there, I mean, I don't know if there was a liberal conservative divide back then the same way there is now. The identities were a little bit less clearly defined, but what's your thought on that?
Well, the Democrats were in control, but I think it was mainly businesses versus government.
Right.
Businesses didn't see why they should shut down like the theaters, and, you know, the government from the governor down to the mayors definitely thought we should social distance, close down the businesses, and kill this pandemic.
We're talking about a time in the Valley's history when there were 100,000 people in the whole Valley. What was I remember you did the numbers on it, and
Phoenix was about 28,000 then, so I'm not sure about the Valley as a whole, but a very small place, Craig.
but a lot of them, a big percentage of that 50, 60, 70,000 people had it.
Yes, a large percentage, and it was really an at-risk population too. We had a lot of poor areas of town without proper sanitation. We had a lot of TB sufferers, so the local health authorities thought we could maybe skate by without too much trouble with this 1918 Spanish flu pandemic, but the opposite was true. Arizona actually got hit harder than most states.
Right. And you noted there were 4 waves. The last wave was a weak one. It wasn't like they were all of equal strength, but that was striking as well.
Right, you had the Herald wave in the spring of 19, again, fairly mellow, but then that flu virus mutated and really walloped not only Arizona and the US, but the world that fall. I think somewhere close to 50 million people died worldwide, and that's considered a pretty conservative estimate.
Right. And media, although people clearly were aware that it was happening, there was a sort of media brownout because of the World War I.
Absolutely. A good patriotic American would not talk about the Spanish flu. We were more concerned about beating the Germans than the germs,
Right.
which is from that ASU history professor.
Right. I'm reading the Alexander Hamilton biography because I'm interested in seeing the movie. And Yellow Fever of, I think it was 1793, the author writes about the effect it had. And again, it was like, wow, that's very, very familiar. It also became politicized and just upended life as they knew it back then. Well, Doug, it's a fascinating read. And, one of those great history stories where, it definitely feels like prologue or, like you say, current events. So thank you very much for your great work, and we'll see you in the magazine before too long.
Thanks so much, Craig.
Okay, welcome back to our final segment in the show. This is when we meet the staff of Phoenix Magazine, and since it's the Great 48 issue, which is our compendium of amazing characters and personalities in the Valley, thought we'd go through one by one and everyone can share what their favorite moment in the feature is, or their favorite Great 48er. So what do you think, managing editor Leah Lemoine? Who is your favorite?
So hard because I love everybody, but if I had to pick, I think I'm going to have to go with Sam Baker, simply because he's packed more into his life than most of us could in a million lives. He's 97 years old, and he's had like 8 different careers. He was in the Marines, he's in the National Geodetic Survey, and now he's retired in Scottsdale and is writing children's books. So
he's sort of the original hyphenate. That's that Hollywood term, writer, director. He's engineer / children's book author / everything.
Pro barbecue sauce maker. He promised me a bottle of barbecue sauce after the pandemic passes. So another reason to look forward to that.
Well, I hope we're also active at 90.
I know.
Maddy Rutherford, our manager or associate editor, who left an impression on you this month.
Yeah, I was particularly inspired by my interview with Rosemary Dombrowski. I interviewed her for a story back in 2018 when she had just been appointed as Phoenix's first poet laureate. And I asked her about her goals kind of for the position. So it was interesting to check in with her toward the end of her laureateship and how she realized those aspirations, which includes making poetry more accessible to the public. I also really enjoyed talking to 9-year-old drumming prodigy Wrecker Eanes, who might be the youngest person I've ever interviewed.
He was definitely the youngest in this feature.
Yes. And he was just really inspiring. His aspirations and achievements were really impressive for a 9-year-old. and just a reminder that we can accomplish anything at any age.
Yeah, he seemed to have a life plan already going at 9.
Yes.
Trying to remember what I was thinking about at 9. I think it was like Magnum PI shows, and I don't know. Nothing, no life plan though, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's our Generation Z representative, so it's kind of interesting to get a glimpse into what those kids are thinking about.
Right.
Morel Inglefield, our art director, what did you think about this year's Great 48? Anybody leave a mark on you?
There were so many, but I have to call out Lauren Leander for her kind of leading the silent protest at the Capitol for the people who were anti-stay-at-home orders.
She's a nurse, a local nurse.
She's a local nurse, local critical care RN. She
kind of went viral nationally.
Yeah, it did.
That image, yeah.
I guess it just kind of summons my inspiration to maybe put some action in my conviction. I think she was very brave to do that, and kind of no matter what side of this fence you're on, I think it's important to kind of speak up and put some muscle in your in your beliefs.
Right.
I particularly think that's an important issue, so give her props for there. Plus, I want to call out Carvin Jones because today's his birthday. Plus, he did some cool stuff. Yeah, he did some pretty cool stuff for the elderly. Found out people who couldn't afford groceries, and he went out and did their shopping for them and delivered the groceries.
We had him on the show earlier.
What was that?
We had him on the show earlier.
Oh, really? Oh, cool. I missed that. Darn it.
I need to keep everyone in the loop better with that. But yeah, no, he's awesome.
Wow. Yeah. So those are my two that really struck a chord, and it was great to meet them both. It was a privilege.
Yeah, it's always fun to meet these people. I mean, when do you get a chance to get Carvin Jones and billionaire Jerry Moyse and the Maricopa County District Attorney all together? I mean, it's just amazing. So
yeah.
Angelina Aragon, our Associate Art Director. What about you?
Mine is one of the same as Morel's. It's Lauren Leander, just for the same reason that Morel said, and also just because they're all of the medical that is happening around. We need nurses and doctors to help keep us safe, and if we do test positive, we need them to help us recover, and so we can be able to go home again and beat the coronavirus. So
you also mentioned earlier Lakota, the proclaimed or beloved street artist here in the Valley.
Yeah, that one also was a good one. I've always loved art since I was little, and I've always wanted to do murals. I haven't done it yet, but just like looking at that, I was just like, you know what? I just need to just buy some spray paint and just try it. Just go for it.
He was a great interview for Maddy too. Apparently, we asked everybody's age just because it's just information we include with this package, and he gave her his total number of days that he had lived, instead of his years. Because you can't be too easy with it, right? You gotta make it fun. I liked interviewing the two women who started Child Help, which is a prominent child charity. It's been in operation for over 50 years. Initially, they started out helping the illegitimate children of GIs in Japan, and that was, an amazing philanthropic idea they had, and they followed through on. They built orphanages, and then they pivoted to child abuse survivors in the 70s at the behest of Ron and Nancy Reagan, which I thought was interesting. I found out about them over dinner at a steakhouse. Someone was like, we started talking about what we did for a living. She's like, you should profile Sarah and Yvonne, and it was like I'd never heard them before. So that was amazing for me to make their acquaintance and get them into the magazine. So thanks, team, for a great issue again. And it was one of those, especially during this, during the pandemic. I think it was a really therapeutic project to talk to these people.
Mm-hmm.
So
it made me remember why I love this job, getting to talk to people. Mm-hmm. Even though I did most of them, remotely, it was still nice to connect.
I mean, it's what we got, right? Zoom or not to Zoom.
Margaret Mead quote, which I think is appropriate for the kind of overall group of Great 48, and I love it.
Yeah.
Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. I think all these people really play their parts well. So
Absolutely.
nod to them.
All right, until next month.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.